Beloved chosen one, pause for a moment. This is not just another message appearing on your screen. This is a divine interruption. Heaven has paused everything around you to speak directly to your spirit. You are not here by accident. You were drawn here because God has something to remind you of. Your fight is not ordinary, and neither are you. You have felt the weight of unseen battles, the exhaustion of carrying strength when no one noticed your pain. Yet, even in your weakness, you have not been forgotten. The silence you've been walking through was not abandonment, it was preparation. Heaven has been shaping you quietly for something greater. You have wondered why your journey has been so intense, why others walk freely while you face storms again and again. It's because you are chosen. You carry something eternal, and the darkness has always known it. The attacks weren't random, they were recognition of your calling. You were anointed before you were attacked, set apart before anyone saw your worth. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 22, verse 14, "For many are called, but few are chosen." You are one of the few, not because you are flawless, but because you have endured. You stayed when others walked away. You prayed when your heart was breaking. You believed when everything told you to give up. Heaven calls that faith, and it is that faith that keeps the door of restoration open for you even when you stumble. Listen closely. Chosen one, this moment is sacred. Heaven is giving you a chance to begin again. The world may have counted you out, but God hasn't. The same hands that molded the stars are still molding you. The same voice that called light out of darkness is now calling purpose out of your pain. You may have fallen, but you are not finished. You may have cried, but your tears are being turned into oil for your next anointing. There is a reason you survived what others didn't. There is a reason your heart still beats with quiet hope even after being shattered. It's because your destiny is still alive. You are walking proof that divine grace restores what the enemy tried to destroy. God will not waste your suffering. He will use it as the very foundation of your strength. So, lift your head. Wipe your tears. You are stepping into a new chapter, and heaven is standing by to help you rebuild. Even if you lost a fight, God will restore what was taken. But you must be ready to release the fear, ready to believe again, ready to say yes to the call that still echoes inside you. This is your reminder: you are chosen, not forgotten, refined, not rejected, loved, not lost. What lies ahead is greater than what lies behind. The same God who started the work in you will be faithful to finish it. If this word is stirring something in your spirit, don't let it pass by. Take a moment right now to acknowledge it. Type 777 inches the comments below as a prophetic declaration that you receive restoration and alignment with heaven's plan. Then, like this message, share it so another chosen one can hear what heaven is speaking. And subscribe to stay connected to this divine flow, because this is only the beginning of what God is about to reveal to you. You were never meant to fade into the background. You were meant to rise, to shine, to stand as living proof that God restores His chosen. Your story isn't over, it's being rewritten by the hand of grace. You were built for the fire. Every trial that tried to break you was never meant to destroy you, it was meant to reveal you. The intensity of your current battle is not a sign that you are weak, it's a sign that you are valuable. Heaven never invests this much pressure in someone who carries nothing. You are being shaped in the fire because you are destined to carry a flame that cannot be extinguished. You see, the fire is not your enemy, it is your forge. It melts away everything false so that only truth remains. The moments that made you cry, the seasons that stripped you bare, the nights that made you question your worth, all of it was a refining process. You thought you were losing everything, but God was actually burning away the things that could not go with you into your next season. There were times you said, "Lord, I can't take another step." Yet, somehow, you did. There were moments when the weight felt unbearable, but strength you didn't understand carried you through. That strength wasn't yours, it was divine. Every time you wanted to quit but didn't, heaven took notice. Every time you chose faith instead of fear, angels recorded your endurance. You were not being punished, you were being purified. It is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 2. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, the flames will not set you ablaze. This is not a poetic promise, it is a divine guarantee. You may feel the heat, but it will not consume you. You may stand in the flames, but they are shaping you into something unbreakable. God is in the fire with you, and what emerges from this season will not resemble what entered it. Chosen one, there's a power being built in you that comfort could never produce. Ease doesn't make warriors, the furnace does. You are being prepared for influence that requires endurance. Heaven is not just blessing you, it's building you. And that construction always involves friction. The shaking, the heat, the tears, they're all tools in the divine process of formation. You may not see it now, but one day you'll look back and realize the fire was your friend. The very situation that brought you pain will become the testimony that sets others free. You'll carry wisdom forged in suffering and compassion born from brokenness. The fire will leave you marked, not scarred. God has been silent not because he's absent, but because he's working in the unseen. While you are fighting to endure, he is fashioning your next chapter. You are becoming someone the enemy cannot intimidate anymore, someone whose faith is unshakable. The same flames that tried to devour you will become the light that guides others. So don't curse the fire. Embrace it. Stand in it with holy confidence. The heat you feel is heaven's workshop, molding you for miracles. You are not breaking down. You are being refined into a vessel that can carry divine glory without shattering. And when the fire finally ceases, when the smoke clears, the world will see you shining, not because you escaped the flames, but because you endured them. The fragrance of your worship will rise from the ashes of what tried to destroy you. You'll know then that the fire never came to end you, it came to unveil you. You have carried more than most could ever imagine. The invisible weight on your shoulders has been heavier than what your words could ever describe. You've smiled when your heart was breaking, stood tall when you felt like collapsing, and kept walking when every step burned. Yet, through it all, you kept going, and that is proof of divine strength. Heaven saw every tear you refused to let fall in public. Every prayer whispered into the darkness was heard. None of it was wasted. The burden you carried wasn't punishment, it was evidence of your calling. Those who carry great purpose often carry great pain first. Before the crown, there is always the cross. Before the promise, there is always pressure. You have been in a divine weight room, training your spirit for what's ahead. We find in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 11, verse 28, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. These words are not just comfort, they are a divine invitation. You've carried the load long enough. God is not asking you to prove your strength, He's inviting you to surrender your exhaustion. The rest you need is not found in escape, it's found in His presence. You were never meant to carry this alone. You've tried to fix everything, to hold everyone, to be strong for those who never noticed your quiet cries. But God is saying, lay it down. The weight you bear does not define your worth. You are not failing just because you're tired. You're human. And heaven understands that. There is a reason you have not collapsed under it all. It's because divine hands have been holding you up when your strength ran out. There are some seasons where your victory is not in doing more, but in letting go. The true test of faith is not how long you can fight, but whether you can trust God enough to rest. It takes courage to release control, to admit, I can't, but He can. That's when restoration begins. Chosen one, your endurance is sacred. The strength that's been forged through your pain will become a foundation for others to stand on. You will speak with authority, not because you read about the struggle, but because you survived it. Your scars will become scriptures written on your skin, declaring that God truly sustains the brokenhearted. So, pause for a moment. Breathe. You don't have to keep holding it all together, He already is. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are simply in the middle of your making. The very hands that shaped creation are now shaping your story, turning heaviness into holiness. If you feel this word tugging at your spirit, respond with a simple act of faith. Type I release it in the comments below. This is not just a sentence, it's a surrender. It's your prophetic declaration that you refuse to carry what was never meant to be yours alone. When you type it, let heaven know that you are done fighting battles in your own strength. You are choosing to rest in the one who called you. The moment you release it, the atmosphere around you will begin to shift. Peace will start to seep into the cracks that pain once filled. The burdens that made you weary will start to lose their hold. Because when you release what's in your hands, God releases what's in His. You are not just surviving, you are being strengthened. The weight that once crushed you will soon crown you. There are battles you fought that no one will ever know about, silent wars that took place inside your soul while the world around you kept moving. You smiled when you wanted to scream. You encouraged others while quietly breaking inside. You showed strength, but behind that strength was a storm only heaven saw. These are the silent battles, the ones that shape the deepest parts of who you are. You've asked questions that seem to echo into emptiness. Why me? God, why do I have to carry so much? Yet even in the stillness, heaven was closer than your breath. The silence wasn't punishment, it was protection. In the quiet, God was writing chapters that could only be written in secret. There are victories that are forged not in noise and celebration, but in stillness and surrender. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 56, verse 8. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book. Every tear that fell, even the ones no one saw, was noticed. Not one drop was wasted. Your tears are evidence of love, faith, and endurance. They are sacred to heaven. There were nights when the pain in your chest felt too heavy to bear. But somehow morning came. You may not know it, but each sunrise that met your weary eyes was God's way of saying, you made it again. Every heartbeat was an act of defiance against the darkness that wanted to silence you. Even when you thought you were alone, angels stood beside you, guarding your broken places, whispering hope into the spaces where fear tried to live. Your silent battles became your private altar, while others saw only your calm exterior. Heaven saw your worship in the form of endurance. You didn't give up when you could have, and that counts. The strength of the chosen ones isn't measured by how loudly they fight, but by how faithfully they remain standing when no one is watching. There's something sacred about the pain no one sees. It's there that God plants the seeds of your next miracle. Your suffering wasn't for nothing, it was for birthing something eternal. You've been learning compassion through heartbreak, patience through delay, and wisdom through waiting. Every tear has watered the soil of your destiny, and now, without realizing it, you've been transformed. The pain that once defined you has become your power. The wounds that once bled have become wells of wisdom. You no longer react like before because the fire has matured you. You understand now that not every battle is meant to be fought. Some are meant to be surrendered. Chosen one, heaven has been keeping record of everything that has tried to break you, and also of every time you rose again. You may not have heard applause, but you have heaven's acknowledgement. You may not have received recognition, but you have divine remembrance. The one who saw you cry will also make sure you're seen when the season of joy comes. When others judged your silence, heaven interpreted your stillness as strength. While they saw nothing happening, heaven saw roots growing. You were being grounded so that when the wind comes again, you won't be moved. You'll be able to comfort others with the same comfort you once longed for. This is why your silent season mattered. It wasn't wasted, it was sacred. You were being taught endurance, humility, and depth. The quiet pain has built in you a power that cannot be shaken. The same tears that fell in darkness will one day shine like diamonds in the light of your testimony. There comes a moment when heaven shifts your perspective, when what once looked like failure begins to reveal itself as divine preparation. You start to see that the very things that wounded you were the same things that refined you. What you called a loss, heaven called a lesson. What you thought was a setback was actually a setup. Nothing in your story has been wasted, not even the pain. You've questioned why certain things fell apart, why people walked away, why opportunities disappeared right when you were ready. But if you look closely, you'll see a pattern of mercy hidden in every disappointment. God was not punishing you, He was protecting you. The doors that closed were never yours to walk through. The relationships that ended were never meant to carry the next version of you. Every delay was a divine redirection, steering you toward what was truly meant for you. The ancient words recorded in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28, still echo today, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to His purpose. This verse doesn't promise a life without pain, it promises a purpose through it. Even when you can't trace God's hand, you can trust His heart. He's been working behind the scenes, weaving every broken thread of your story into something beautiful. You see, perspective is power. When you realize that God wastes nothing, peace begins to take root where confusion once lived. You stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start declaring, "This happened for me." That shift changes everything. It transforms bitterness into wisdom, regret into gratitude, and fear into faith. Suddenly, You begin to see your scars not as proof of failure, but as proof of survival. Chosen one. You have to know this. Heaven has never seen you as defeated. You may have been pressed, but you were never crushed. You may have been delayed, but you were never denied. God has been using every hardship to develop endurance, every heartbreak to expand compassion, and every closed door to push you closer to your destiny. So, breathe. Release the timeline you built in your mind. You're not behind, you're being aligned. Everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Sometimes, divine preparation looks like isolation. Sometimes, elevation comes disguised as loss. But soon, the picture will come together, and you'll understand why things had to happen the way they did. And when that moment comes, when you finally see the beauty rising from the ashes, remember this truth. It was never about what you lost. It was about what you gained through it. You gained strength, clarity, faith, and a deeper understanding of who you are in God. If this message resonates deep in your spirit, take a quiet moment to reflect. Let these words settle into your heart. And if you feel led, express that gratitude by simply liking this message, sharing it so another soul can find peace in their process, and subscribing to stay connected to this flow of divine wisdom, not for numbers, not for attention, but as a small act of faith, saying, I receive this truth. Because every time you share light, heaven multiplies it. And as you do, remember, your story is still unfolding, and it's leading somewhere glorious. What once felt like the end will soon reveal itself as the beginning of your becoming. There is a sacred promise written across the pages of your destiny. God will restore you, even if you fall, even if you lose your footing. Mercy stands waiting to rebuild what was broken. You were never expected to walk through this life flawlessly. Heaven always knew that your path would include both triumph and trial. What matters most is not that you fell, but that you still believe restoration is possible. Sometimes, the hardest part isn't falling, it's forgiving yourself afterward. You replay moments you wish you could change, words you wish you hadn't spoken, choices you wish you hadn't made. But the truth is, grace was already waiting at the bottom of that fall. You didn't surprise God. He saw it coming and made provision for your return long before you ever stumbled. The Spirit spoke through the ancient wisdom of Proverbs. Chapter 24, verse 16. Though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. But the wicked stumble when calamity strikes. Notice the promise. It doesn't say if you fall. It says when. Because even the righteous fall. The mark of the chosen ones isn't perfection, it's persistence. You rise not because you're strong, but because grace refuses to let you stay down. Every fall becomes an invitation to experience God's mercy more deeply. Every broken place becomes an altar for His restoration. You've been fighting shame, but shame has no place where forgiveness has entered. You've been afraid to start again, but heaven is whispering, it's time. The same God who saw you fall is the same God calling you back to your feet. You are not disqualified, you are being redefined. Restoration doesn't mean returning to who you were. It means becoming who you were always meant to be. The breaking was never meant to erase you, it was meant to rebuild you. When gold is melted, it doesn't lose its value. It's simply reshaped. That's what God is doing with your life. You are being refined, reformed, and refilled. The places where you once hid your shame will become the platforms of your testimony. The moments that once brought you pain will become messages of hope for others who are still lost. You will speak from the ashes with a voice that carries authority, because you've lived through what you're proclaiming. Heaven restores not just what was lost, but also what you thought could never return. Chosen one. God's mercy does not run on a timer. You haven't missed your chance. You haven't gone too far. The road back to restoration is paved with love, not judgment. And every step you take toward Him, He takes 10 toward you. Take a moment and look at how far you've come. The very fact that you're still here is proof that restoration is already at work. You've fallen, yes, but you've also risen. And every rise writes a new line in the story of redemption that heaven is telling through your life. If this truth is stirring something inside you, don't silence it. Declare it in faith. Type 888 inches, the comments below. This number represents new beginnings and resurrection. Let it be your act of faith, your personal declaration that you are ready to rise again, that you believe restoration is still your portion. You are not finished. You are being rebuilt by divine hands. And what emerges from this restoration will be stronger, purer, and more radiant than ever before. Heaven hasn't withdrawn its promise, it's only just beginning to fulfill it. There are moments when grace feels distant, when silence stretches longer than your faith expected it to. You pray, but the heavens seem quiet. You wait, but no sign appears. And in that stillness, doubt tries to whisper that you've been forgotten. Yet the truth is, this God's silence is not His absence. When you cannot feel Him, He is often closest, working in the unseen, preparing the miracle that requires stillness to be born. You have walked through a season where your prayers seem to hang in midair. You've asked, Lord, are you still with me? And felt only the echo of your own voice. But the absence of sound does not mean the absence of presence. The potter does his finest work in silence. The seed grows underground before it ever breaks through the soil. So it is with your spirit. He is growing you in secret before He reveals you in power. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Psalm chapter 46. Verse 10, Be still, and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. Stillness is not inactivity, it is trust. It is the posture of one who knows that even when God seems quiet, He is still sovereign. In your waiting, you have been learning the rhythm of heaven. You've discovered that answers are not always immediate, because some miracles require maturity. You've learned that faith is not a feeling, it's a decision to keep walking even when the path is dim. The silence has been your classroom, and your patience the textbook written by grace itself. When the noise fades and only stillness remains, that's when you begin to hear what truly matters. In that space, God teaches you discernment. He teaches you to recognize His whisper above the chaos. He teaches you that His presence doesn't always come with thunder or fire. Sometimes it comes with the gentleness of a quiet assurance that refuses to leave you. You've looked around and thought others were moving faster, accomplishing more, shining brighter. But heaven's timeline is not measured in moments, it's measured in missions. What looks like delay is often divine preparation. You are being rooted so deeply that when the winds come, you will not be moved. You are being taught the kind of peace that no storm can steal. Chosen one, do not despise this quiet place. This silence is sacred soil. What is growing here will outlast anything rushed or forced. When God hides, it's because He's doing something holy. He conceals you not to abandon you, but to protect what He's building within you. The treasure being formed in this silence is far too precious to be exposed too soon. Soon, the same stillness that confused you will become your sanctuary. You will look back and realize that what felt like isolation was actually invitation to draw closer, to listen deeper, to trust more completely. And when His voice finally breaks through again, you'll recognize it instantly. You'll realize it never truly left. It was simply teaching you how to hear without fear, how to believe without evidence, and how to rest without needing reassurance. The silence was never empty. It was full of purpose. You were never forgotten. You were being formed. And now, as the quiet begins to lift, you'll find that the peace you've learned in stillness will guide you through every storm that follows. Every chosen one must walk through a season where God allows their enemies to see them fall, only so they will later witness their rise. The same voices that once mocked you will soon whisper in awe when they see what heaven does next. This is not revenge, it is revelation. God is not elevating you to embarrass your enemies, but to demonstrate His faithfulness. What was meant for your humiliation will become the stage of His glory. You have felt surrounded by people who misunderstood you. Some celebrated when you stumbled. Others spoke words that wounded your spirit. They judged your pause as weakness, your silence as defeat. But they didn't know that heaven had placed you in a cocoon, not a coffin. What looked like the end was only transformation in progress. The same mouths that spoke against you will soon speak of you, not because you fought back, but because God fought for you. We are reminded through the words of David in Psalm chapter 23, verse 5. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. This verse is not just a promise of abundance, it is a declaration of vindication. God's restoration is never private. It is intentional, purposeful, and visible. Those who doubted your calling will become witnesses to your anointing. You see, God could have restored you quietly. He could have healed you in the shadows, but He chose to make it public so that every person who questioned your worth would know that His hand has always been on you. What once mocked you will marvel at you. What once tried to curse you will be forced to bless you. Chosen one, this next season will not require your defense. You won't need to prove who you are or justify where you're going. Heaven will handle your reputation. The same people who saw your pain will see your promotion. And when they ask how it happened, all you'll be able to say is, God did it. Every tear that fell in secret is now watering the garden of your vindication. You will eat from the fruit of endurance. You will see that nothing they took from you stayed lost. God has been multiplying it behind the scenes. The tables are turning, not through your effort, but through divine timing. Understand this, you are not rising because you deserve revenge. You are rising because mercy has chosen to lift you. Restoration without humility is rebellion, but restoration through surrender becomes revelation. You are not returning to prove them wrong, you are returning to prove God right. Let them talk. Let them watch. Every word spoken against you is being rewritten into testimony. Every false rumor is becoming a setup for God's truth to shine brighter. The oil on your head will speak louder than their opinions. Soon, the same ones who dismissed you will seek your wisdom. The same ones who laughed will learn from you. And in that moment, your heart will not desire to boast, it will overflow with grace. Because the true victory of the chosen ones is not to rise above others, but to rise so high that you can lift others too. Your story will become evidence that no amount of betrayal can cancel what heaven has ordained. Those who tried to break you only built the platform God will use to display His glory. So stand tall, not in pride, but in peace. What was meant to shame, you will soon showcase the goodness of God inside you. A war has been raging, a war not of flesh and blood, but of faith and fear, light and shadow. You've been smiling on the outside while fighting for your soul on the inside. Some days it feels like two versions of you are at war, the one who believes in God's promises and the one who's weary from waiting. Yet even here, in the middle of that conflict, heaven whispers, you are not losing, you are learning. The greatest battles are never fought in open fields but in hidden hearts. It's not your enemies that can destroy you, it's your doubt, your despair, your hesitation to believe that you were truly made for victory. The battlefield of your mind has heard more gunfire than the world around you. Every anxious thought, every temptation to give up, every whisper telling you you're not enough, that's where the real war lies. As was spoken in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 4, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. This war is not fought with human strength or worldly tools, it is fought in the Spirit, with faith as your shield and truth as your sword. You've been fighting battles no one sees, but you've also been winning more than you realize. Every time you chose forgiveness over anger, heaven counted it as victory. Every time you prayed instead of panicking, you struck a blow against darkness. Every time you refused to quit, you proved that light still reigns within you. There are moments when exhaustion tempts you to stop believing, to settle, to give in. But chosen one, this war is shaping your authority. Every wound you've endured is becoming wisdom. Every night of wrestling is producing a deeper power within you. The enemy wouldn't attack you this hard if he wasn't terrified of what you're becoming. You've seen people walk away while you stayed faithful. You've seen blessings delayed while others seem to prosper easily. But remember, heaven's timing is not slow, it's strategic. God is strengthening your spirit so that when you receive what's coming, you can carry it without collapsing. He's not just preparing the promise, He's preparing you. This is why the warfare has intensified lately. It's because breakthrough is near. The darkness always fights hardest right before the dawn. The pain you feel now is the stretching of your spiritual muscles, the final resistance before release. What's ahead of you is greater than what's behind. But you must stand your ground. You cannot surrender now. You've come too far. And here's the truth you must hold on to. Victory isn't always loud. Sometimes it looks like peace in chaos, calm in confusion, or joy that makes no sense. Sometimes victory is the simple act of still believing when everything tells you not to. Heaven measures victory differently. It's not about what you conquer outside, but what you conquer within. If these words echo in your heart, respond in faith. Type "I still stand" in the comments below. Not because you feel strong, but because you refuse to let your spirit bow to defeat. When you declare it, you're not speaking to people, you're speaking to the heavens and the shadows that have tried to silence you. You're declaring that your faith still holds, your purpose still burns, and your heart still belongs to God. This inner war is fierce, but it's refining you into a weapon of light. You were not made to crumble, you were made to conquer. And soon, what tried to destroy you will wish it never touched you. There comes a moment when heaven calls you to reclaim what was always yours, to take back the authority that fear tried to steal, to rise again in the power of your divine identity. You were never meant to walk as a victim. You were created to move with spiritual authority. The same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead lives in you. The same voice that calmed the storm also lives in your mouth. Heaven is waiting for you to remember who you are. You've spent too long believing that humility means silence, that gentleness means weakness. But chosen humility doesn't mean powerlessness. It means power under divine control. You can walk softly and still shake the ground. You can love deeply and still carry authority. You can be humble and still command the atmosphere when you speak in faith. You are not called to blend in. You are called to shift the spiritual climate wherever you go. The voice of God thundered in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, verse 19. Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. This isn't a symbolic promise, it's a legal right granted to every chosen soul. The authority you carry doesn't come from titles, platforms, or recognition. It flows from intimacy with the one who called you. There was a time when you lost confidence, when life's disappointments made you shrink back from your calling. You doubted if your voice still mattered, if your prayers still carried power. But heaven is saying, speak again, stand again, believe again. Every time you decree truth, light moves. Every time you intercede, strongholds shake. You are not a bystander in the spiritual realm. You are a representative of divine authority on earth. Reclaiming your mantle doesn't mean returning to the past. It means stepping into alignment with who God says you are right now. The authority of heaven is not given to the perfect, it is given to the obedient. When you say yes again, even after failure, heaven crowns you with fresh oil. The fire you thought had gone out is still burning beneath the ashes, waiting for your surrender to fan it back into flame. Chosen one, this is your reminder. Power has always been your inheritance. You were designed to pray with fire, to speak with conviction, to walk with purpose. The enemy's greatest fear is not your weakness, it's your awakening. Once you realize that you were never powerless, darkness loses its grip completely. So lift your head, walk with quiet confidence, speak blessings, not fear. Declare peace over your home, healing over your body, victory over your future. You are not begging heaven for help, you are partnering with it. When you pray, the atmosphere listens. When you move, chains tremble. And if this word resonates within your spirit, let it anchor your heart with gratitude. As you feel that fire reigniting inside, take a moment to acknowledge it. Like this message, share it so that someone else who forgot their power can remember it again. And subscribe to stay connected to the voice that keeps calling you higher. Not for attention, but for alignment, so that together the chosen can rise. Because you are stepping back into your authority, and heaven is applauding your return. You are not just surviving, you are commanding. You are not just enduring, you are reigning. Take your place. Beloved, chosen one, for the world is waiting to see the power of God revealed through you. There is a quiet strength that comes when you finally stop striving and start surrendering. It's not the surrender of defeat, but the surrender of trust, the moment when you release your need to control the outcome and allow God to be God. This is where restoration truly begins. Not in your effort, but in your yielding. The battle doesn't end when you fight harder. It ends when you learn to let go and let grace lead. You've spent so long trying to fix, prove, and carry everything by yourself. You thought that if you just did more, prayed harder, or worked longer, you could make things right again. But heaven is reminding you that this is not a fight of flesh or logic. It's not your striving that unlocks miracles, it's your surrender. God doesn't need your perfection, He needs your permission to move freely in your life. It was written in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 22, verse 42, "Not my will, but yours be done." These words, spoken in the Garden of Gethsemane, were not words of weakness, they were the greatest expression of strength the world has ever seen. In that surrender, redemption began, and the same truth applies to you. When you stop demanding your way and open your heart to God's will, transformation begins. There is a divine paradox in surrender. It looks like losing, but it leads to victory. It feels like laying something down, yet it opens your hands to receive what's greater. The moment you release your plans, God replaces them with His. The dreams you thought had died were not denied. They were being reshaped to fit His purpose. Surrender is not passive, it's powerful. It means choosing peace over panic, faith over fear, and obedience over control. It means saying, "God, even if I don't understand, I trust you." When you reach that point, the atmosphere around you shifts. You stop resisting what's happening and start resting in who He is. The waves that once scared you become the very thing that carries you closer to your promise. There's a beauty that rises in a surrendered soul, a calm authority that can't be shaken by circumstances. You begin to see that God's delays were not denials but divine detours. You realize that everything you've released is safe in His hands. You don't have to beg Him to remember you. He's been orchestrating your steps from the beginning. Chosen one. It's time to lay down your burdens, not because you've given up, but because you've grown up in faith. The power of surrender is that it transforms anxiety into assurance. It teaches you that control is heavy, but trust is light. The more you yield, the more heaven moves. The more you let go, the more blessings flow. And soon, you'll look back and understand why certain prayers weren't answered when you wanted them to be. You'll see that God wasn't ignoring you. He was protecting you from what you couldn't yet see. You'll thank Him for the closed doors that saved you, for the delays that matured you, and for the stillness that built your strength. When you surrender, you don't lose yourself, you discover your truest self. The version heaven always saw. You realize that peace was never found in control, but in confidence, the quiet knowing that whatever happens, you are held. This is where power lives, not in grasping, but in giving, not in resistance, but in release. You are stepping into the kind of strength that only surrender can birth. Let go and watch grace take over. There comes a point in every divine story where everything flips, the ashes become beauty. The pain becomes prophecy, and what looked like loss becomes the birthplace of glory. This is the season of prophetic reversal. The same ground where you fell will soon become the stage where you rise. The same voice that once trembled in defeat will declare victory. Heaven never wastes a wound. Every scar on your soul carries a hidden seed of destiny. You have walked through valleys that almost silenced you. But heaven never intended for your story to end in sorrow. Every tear that has touched the earth will return as rain in your next harvest. You were never being buried, you were being planted. The darkness that surrounded you was not a grave but a womb. And what God has been forming in secret is ready to be revealed. The apostle reminds us in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 20, verse 16. So the last will be first, and the first will be last. These words carry a divine mystery. Heaven's order is not the world's order. God delights in taking the overlooked and making them leaders, the rejected and making them radiant, the broken and turning them into blessings. You are standing at the edge of that great reversal. The places where you once wept will become places of worship. The people who pitied you will marvel at you. The areas where you failed will become the very fields where you flourish. Heaven is rewriting your narrative, not by erasing the past, but by redeeming it. What once embarrassed you will soon empower you. What once hurt you will soon heal others through your story. This is not wishful thinking, it is divine justice. God is not merely returning what was taken, He is multiplying it. Everything that seemed lost in your wilderness will reappear in double measure. You may not see it yet. But reversal always begins in the spirit before it manifests in the natural. The tides are turning, quietly but surely. Chosen one, you have reached the turning point. The years of sowing in tears are ending, and the reaping in joy is beginning. The silence is breaking, the waiting is lifting, and the promise is unfolding. Heaven's timing is perfect. It's arriving not too soon, not too late, but right when your heart has matured enough to carry the blessing without breaking. Don't despise what looked like delay. It was divine choreography. God was aligning every detail so that your restoration would not only be complete, but undeniable. When this reversal happens, it will silence every voice of doubt and amplify every word of destiny spoken over your life. You won't have to force anything. The blessing will find you where you stand. The same hand that closed the door will open it again. Only this time, it will lead to something greater. And when it does, you'll understand why the wait had to be so long. It was stretching your capacity to receive what's coming. If this truth resonates within your spirit, make a prophetic act right now. Type 999 inches, the comments below. This number represents completion, the closing of an old cycle and the beginning of something divinely new. When you write it, you're declaring, "My reversal begins now." Let heaven and earth bear witness that you believe the tables are turning in your favor. Your story is not ending, it's transforming. Every loss is finding its purpose. Every pain is finding its prophecy. And every delay is revealing its divine design. The last chapter of sorrow has been written. What comes next is glory. There comes a time when you stop seeing your scars as shame and start recognizing them as sacred. The wounds you once tried to hide become the very proof that you have survived every plan the enemy devised against you. You are not defined by what broke you, but by what you became after breaking. The awakening that's happening inside you now is not about gaining something new. It's about remembering who you were before life tried to make you forget. You've spent seasons feeling like your pain disqualified you, as though the cracks in your soul made you unworthy of divine use. But heaven sees differently. God does not discard the broken. He transforms them into vessels of glory. The cracks become windows through which His light shines. The very things you thought disqualified you are what make you powerful now. Because no one can tell a story of redemption like the one who's been through it. We are reminded through the writings of David in Psalm, chapter 147, verse 3. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. These words are not merely comfort, they are confirmation. Healing is not a distant promise, it's already happening within you. Every piece of your soul that once lay scattered is being gently gathered and restored by divine hands. You may not have noticed it yet, but your heart beats differently now. The bitterness has begun to dissolve, and in its place grows compassion. You can look at the pain without hating the past. You can remember the betrayal without reliving the wound. That is healing quiet, sacred, miraculous healing. It doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it comes in whispers, in deep breaths. In the moment you realize that what once triggered tears now brings peace. This is what awakening feels like. It's not loud or sudden. It's the steady rising of your true self, the one who knows they are chosen, called, and loved beyond measure. The awakening is when your vision clears and you start seeing everything differently. You realize that the delays weren't punishments but protections. The losses weren't endings but transitions. The heartbreak wasn't meant to destroy you but to open you to deeper love. Pain refines perception. It teaches you to see beyond appearances, to recognize divine timing, to sense truth beneath illusion. What once hurt you now helps you. The lessons learned in darkness have sharpened your discernment. You move differently because you see differently now. That is the mark of the awakened, the ability to find meaning where others see mess, to sense purpose where others only see pain. Chosen one. This awakening is not just emotional, it's spiritual. You are being aligned with heaven's rhythm. The things that used to disturb your peace can no longer reach you. The noise that once distracted you now fades easily because your focus has shifted to what truly matters. You've stopped chasing validation because you finally understand that divine affirmation is enough. In this awakened state, gratitude flows naturally. You begin to thank God not only for what went right, but also for what went wrong. Because everything served a purpose. You no longer fear what's ahead, because you've already walked through what you thought would kill you, and it didn't. You came out wiser, softer, and stronger. You are the living proof that resurrection doesn't always look like perfection. It often looks like resilience. The cracks on your heart tell a story heaven is proud to display. You've been awakened not by comfort, but by courage. And now, you walk not as one who survived, but as one who has been transformed. Every crown comes with a cost. Every destiny carries a cross. You cannot walk in the fullness of divine glory without first passing through the weight of divine testing. The crown and the cross are inseparable. They are the two sides of the same purpose. The cross humbles you, so the crown won't destroy you. The pain you've endured was never wasted. It was heaven's way of ensuring you could handle what's coming next. You've been through seasons that stripped you of comfort and certainty. There were days when faith felt like a heavy cloak you could barely hold up. You questioned whether the promise was still true or if you had somehow disqualified yourself. But every breaking moment was refining your spirit, building endurance, and purifying your motives. The cross you carried wasn't punishment, it was preparation. As Jesus declared in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 9, verse 23, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me." These words reveal a divine principle. The pathway to glory is paved with surrender. To take up your cross is not to suffer endlessly, but to align your heart with God's purpose, no matter the cost. The cross teaches you dependence. It teaches you what to let go of, what to carry forward, and who you truly are when everything else is stripped away. It forces you to confront yourself, to see the parts of you that still need healing and the pride that must die for humility to live. Every moment of pain has been carving character, shaping you into someone who can reign with compassion instead of ego, with purpose instead of pride. Chosen one. Your crown is not made of gold, it's made of glory. It is forged in the fires of obedience, sealed with the oil of endurance, and adorned with the jewels of grace. Every tear you've shed has polished it. Every act of faith in the dark has shaped it. And when it rests upon your head, it will not just represent victory, it will represent transformation. Many long for the crown but flee the cross. They want power without process, blessing without breaking. But you chose to endure. You carried your pain with dignity, your heartbreak with faith, and your confusion with trust. That is what separates the chosen from the crowd. You didn't run from the process, you stayed in it until it purified you. The cross also connects you with Christ in ways comfort never could. When you suffer with Him, you begin to see life through His eyes. You understand compassion, forgiveness, and mercy in a deeper way. You learn that true strength is not the absence of pain, but the ability to love even when you're hurting. And soon, the cross will give way to the crown. The weight that once bent your back will become the glory that lifts your head. The very things that humbled you will exalt you in due time. You will carry your crown not as a trophy, but as a testimony, a symbol that obedience, even in the valley, leads to elevation on the mountain. So don't despise the cross you've carried. It was never meant to crush you, but to crown you. The path of surrender always ends in victory. You are standing at the intersection of pain and promise, and heaven is already fitting the crown for the one who refused to give up. This is the moment heaven has been preparing you for the call to rise again. You have walked through the fire, faced the silence, carried the cross, and now the trumpet of resurrection sounds within your spirit. It's not the world calling you forward, it's heaven itself. Everything you've lost, everything you've endured, has been leading to this divine rising. There is a stirring happening inside you right now. It's not adrenaline, it's an awakening. The same power that raised Jesus from the grave is whispering to your soul, get up. The stones that once sealed your purpose are rolling away. The grave clothes of your past are loosening, and light is breaking through the cracks of what once felt final. This is your moment to rise, not someday, but now, as the prophet Micah declared in the sacred writings, chapter 7, verse 8, "For though I fall, I will rise. Though I sit in darkness, the Lord will be my light." These words are not ancient poetry, they are your personal prophecy. The fall did not disqualify you, it positioned you for revelation. The darkness was not meant to end you, it was meant to reveal your endurance. Chosen one, there's a holy fire returning to your spirit. The strength you thought was gone is stirring again. The voice you silenced is being restored. You've been through enough to break most people, but you're still standing, and that's proof of divine favor. God is breathing life into every part of you that once felt dead. Dreams are reviving, faith is reigniting, hope is returning. This rise won't look like the last one. This time, it's not driven by survival, It's built on surrender. You're not climbing for validation anymore. You're rising for transformation. You no longer need applause. You only need alignment. Heaven is lifting you, not because you demanded it, but because you are ready. The pain that once defined you is now becoming your power. The confusion that once clouded you is clearing, revealing purpose behind every delay. Every time you thought you were falling apart, God was actually rebuilding you from the inside out. Now the structure is complete. The foundation is strong, and the next chapter begins with resurrection. You may still feel traces of fear or doubt. That's natural. Even resurrection requires courage. Rising again means facing the same world that once saw you fall. But this time with different eyes. You've been humbled, healed, and wholly recalibrated. Nothing that once broke you can control you anymore. You are not who you were before the storm. You are the refined version of everything heaven intended you to be. If these words are resonating in your spirit, let gratitude move you. Take a breath and let it out slowly. Feel the shift inside you. You are rising not in arrogance, but in awe. And if you sense that divine push, that confirmation deep in your soul, take a moment to respond, like this message, as a sign of agreement. Share it so another weary heart can find the strength to rise again. And subscribe, not for routine, but to stay connected to the flow of divine encouragement that keeps your spirit anchored. Then, type "I will rise again" in the comments below. Let it be more than words, it's your declaration of resurrection. Heaven hears it. Darkness fears it. You're not just standing back up, you're stepping into glory. The same power that raised the dead now rises within you. This is your resurrection moment. Stand tall, chosen one. The grave has lost its hold, and your destiny is calling your name. Before restoration is complete, there comes one final refining flame. It is the moment when you think the worst is over, only to feel the fire rise again. But this time, it burns differently. It doesn't destroy, it purifies. It doesn't consume, it completes. The refining flame is not punishment. It is the sacred process that ensures what God is about to release to you will not be lost. You see, anyone can survive the fire, but only the chosen ones are refined by it. The flame that once terrified you now teaches you. It exposes what no longer belongs, what cannot go with you into the next season. It burns away false motives, pride, fear, and dependency on things that were never meant to sustain you. The heat you feel now is not a sign that you're far from God. It's proof that you're in His hands. It was written in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 3. He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. He will purify the Levites and refine them like gold and silver, so they may present offerings in righteousness to the Lord. This scripture reveals something sacred. God does not leave the fire unattended. He sits with you through it. He watches carefully, ensuring the heat is never more than necessary. He knows exactly when to lower the flame and when to lift you out, shining brighter than before. There are moments when you've wondered, why again? Haven't I already been through enough? But every time the flame returns, it reaches deeper, healing the hidden places that past fires couldn't touch. This is not a cycle of pain, it's a cycle of purification. Heaven doesn't repeat what's already finished. It refines what's not yet whole. The refining flame has a way of quieting everything unnecessary. You start to realize that not every voice deserves your attention. Not every battle requires your energy, and not every fear deserves your belief. The closer you get to divine restoration, the smaller your circle becomes and the clearer your vision grows. What once distracted you now feels irrelevant. You've learned to value peace over noise, depth over appearance, and purpose over comfort. Chosen one, this fire is sacred. It is not meant to break you, but to bless you. You are being cleansed of every residue that pain left behind. The anger that once lingered is dissolving. The bitterness that once clung to your heart is being washed away in the flame. What remains after this will be pure love, holy endurance, and unshakable faith. The refining flame teaches you that real strength isn't loud, it's steady. Real faith doesn't demand proof, it holds on through uncertainty. Real holiness is not about perfection, it's about authenticity. You are learning to walk in that authenticity now, to let go of masks, to embrace truth, to live unfiltered in the light of divine grace. And when this final refining is complete, you will see why it had to happen this way. The very fire that once frightened you will become your friend. You'll look back and say, that was the moment everything changed. The smoke will clear, and what will remain is gold-tested, proven, and radiant. You are standing in holy fire. But this time, you are not crying for escape, you are glowing with surrender. The refining flame that finishes what grace began is not here to harm you. It's here to reveal who you truly are, pure, powerful, and ready to carry glory. Beloved, chosen one, the time of restoration has come. The storm that once raged around you has finally bowed to the still voice of heaven. You stand now in a quiet strength that cannot be shaken, because everything meant to break you has already served its purpose. The dust has settled. The fire has finished its work, and what remains is gold pure, radiant, unyielding. You are not the same as before. You carry a depth that only divine refining could produce. You once wondered if you would ever feel whole again, if joy could ever return to a heart so worn by battle. Yet here you are, breathing proof that grace always has the final word. The weight you carried has turned into wisdom, and the pain that once pressed you into the ground has become the soil of new beginnings. You are no longer defined by what you lost, but by what you found in the middle of loss, God's unfailing presence. It is written in the first letter of Peter, chapter 5, verse 10, "And after you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace will restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you." This is not a distant promise, it is a declaration unfolding right now. What you thought was an ending has become the birthplace of new purpose. The same God who watched you crawl through darkness now clothes you in light. Restoration is rarely loud. It arrives quietly, the way dawn touches the horizon after a long night. One day, you simply wake up and realize your heart no longer aches the way it once did. The wounds no longer control your thoughts. The memories that once burned now bless you with perspective. That is what divine healing looks like, not denial, but redemption. You are not returning to who you were. You are becoming who you were always meant to be. The lessons you learned in hidden places will guide you into the light with wisdom no textbook could teach. You now walk with a humility that carries power, with compassion that carries authority. Your restoration isn't only for you, it is for everyone your light will touch. Look at yourself, chosen one. The same hands that once trembled now bless others. The same voice that once cried out for mercy now speaks words of life. You have become a testimony that God restores, not partially, but completely. Everything's stolen: peace, purpose, clarity is being returned in greater measure. The battle that once defined your nights is now your banner of victory. The people who doubted your strength will soon witness your radiance. And when they ask how it happened, you will smile and simply say, "Grace did it," because no other power could have brought you this far. The story that began in pain ends in glory. You are walking out of ashes with purpose in your steps, light in your eyes, and heaven's crown resting on your head. This is what restoration looks like, not perfection, but peace. Not a return to what was, but a rise into what always was promised. So, walk forward now. Chosen one, the season of sorrow has passed. You are restored, renewed, and released into destiny. The same God who allowed the breaking has completed the mending, and everything within you declares, "It is finished." And it is beautiful, beloved, chosen one. If these words have stirred something deep within your spirit, take a breath and recognize this was not coincidence. Heaven timed this moment perfectly for you. Everything you've read was written to remind you that you are not forgotten, not abandoned, and certainly not ordinary. You are chosen, restored, and destined to carry light into a world that desperately needs it. If this message has spoken to your soul, take a moment to honor it. Let gratitude rise in your heart, and let your faith answer heaven's call. Like this message, not as a routine act, but as a declaration that you receive it. Share it, so another weary heart can remember that divine restoration is still possible. Your simple act of sharing might be the spark that reignites someone else's hope. And when your spirit feels ready, comment below a word or phrase that captures what this message meant to you. Let the world see your faith in action. Then, subscribe and stay connected. Not for the noise of algorithms, but for the flow of divine truth that keeps your heart aligned and your purpose alive. You are part of something sacred now, a gathering of the chosen ones rising together. Your restoration is not the end, it's the beginning of glory.